this is stuff that we're never gonna use ever.
Well, I guess we need to just start with your turkey hunt because you're the only one that's killed one yet.
Yes. Although
Unless you want to start with bad stuff and then work into the better stuff, that's up to you.
I think we should go through succession of how the days have happened to where the kill actually took place.
Okay.
Opening weekend was probably the most interesting hunt, to be completely honest. So we got out there late on opening day. It was Casey and I on a piece of private here in the county that we live in, and there was nothing going on. It was cold. It was blowy. It just wasn't the day to be out there. But opening day, I mean, we got out there, and I got off work at 8, so we got out there pretty late in the day for as far as opening day goes. And then nothing. So then I went to the same property the next day, right? And I snuck in nice and early, just bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, ready
before daylight.
Yeah, I was ready to be there. I probably pulled in an hour before and just sat there and rolled the windows down in the truck and sat there for a little bit. And it's just like wanted to be in the moment. And then I started walking down to the spot to where I thought I was going to hear a gobble, and I didn't. And I was like, well, that's a bummer. And it was daybreak. Still hadn't heard anything. Probably went.
That's about the worst feeling. When you're like, oh, man, I'm pretty sure there's birds down here.
Yeah.
And then you get there and there's nothing.
And at that point on that property this year, I hadn't heard anything.
Yeah.
I saw a sign, but I hadn't seen anything yet or heard anything. So it was about 8 o'clock in the morning. And then finally it all broke loose. And it was on the property across the line that I was like, if they're this close and they're going this hard right now, they're trying to figure each other out. I can probably get in there close enough to where I can probably stir things up just a bit. And so I called real light, real casual. Wasn't trying to
They just gobbled on their own?
I think they were pushing hens around.
Okay.
From what I gathered, there were 2 toms in the bottom and then 1 up top. Which I couldn't see. What I'm guessing is what happened is that 1 tom was closing in on the hens down at the bottom with the 2 toms, and then those 2 started getting just a little feisty.
Yeah.
So,
irritated.
Yeah. So that's what I heard. And then I called a couple times, and he answered, and I shut up. I was like, I got this one to answer. These 2 sounded like they were moving off with hens. I'm just going to sit here and do nothing. Which... about 20 minutes later, and I put myself in such a bad spot, but I didn't really have a choice because where I was so open. It's, that last week of April to where there's not a lot of undergrowth yet to where you can really hide yourself in the woods. Yep. And I couldn't get myself to a field. So
in 2 weeks, you're going to be wishing for that because it's going to be so.
I know.
You're not going to be able to see 15 yards.
So, I put myself behind a large oak tree, which was big enough to hide a silhouette, but I was so concerned about what the camera was going to be doing. Once again, lost the bird to a camera. He came in quiet, and I saw him because I was peeking around the tree, and I saw his fan amongst some of the more flora out there, and I was like, all right, he's 60 yards. He doesn't know I'm here yet, but he knows that the last thing he heard is something that he's interested in. I'm going to mess with the camera just a little bit and just let him come in quiet. And he came in fanning. I didn't hear any spitting or drumming. He just came in nice and quiet. And as he got closer and closer, I was like, okay, he's probably about 50. Now he's probably about 40. And once he got 40, I did this little move with my gun. I pulled my elbow over so I could pull the gun completely out.
Yeah.
And I reached for the camera at the same time. And when I reached for the camera, that's what he saw. And he stopped. So I'm kind of sitting there behind the tree like this. And I'm like, well, I can't do anything yet. So he kind of did one of those things where the bird goes like this, goes like that, realized he didn't like what he was seeing.
Yep.
And he started moving off. And I was like, 40 yards, I can still make the shot. He's probably close to being within the camera. And I was like, okay. And as I did that, I completely exposed myself around the tree. And then he was like, gone.
Yep.
And I was like, the thing that I didn't want to do was lose a bird to a camera this year. And the first time I had a bird...
I'm pretty sure you said that on a podcast.
I did. And the thing that happened first was I lost a bird to the camera. I was like, you got to be kidding me. So I wasn't bummed, but that was pretty much the end of activity for that day. But I was so mad at myself for letting what I didn't want to have happen just because of my own, I don't want to say ego, but kind of ego, to be honest.
That's a hard thing, though. I had that happen to me in West Virginia last year. The bird got behind this giant tree, and I was like, oh, he can't see me. Well, I was not ready. Same thing. He didn't come in silent, but he come in way faster than I expected. So there was this giant oak tree here, and the bird got behind it, so I brought my gun up. Well, when I brought my gun up and my barrel hit my knee, I can't see here. I just have a view of the bird here. Well, when my barrel went past my knee, he's seen it. So I'm guessing it's the same thing. Like, you knew, okay, the bird can't see me, but when you did this, he could see this.
Yeah.
Like, he could see a foot of this, or 18 inches of your arm. And same thing happened to me last year in West Virginia, and I was just going for my gun, but
they are tricky birds.
Yep. And it's something that you don't think about, like, oh, I can't see him, but you don't think, you're seeing an 8-inch, 10-inch view. You know, you put your arm past that 10 inches, they can see you.
Oh yeah.
Or potentially could see you. And it's just something you don't think about until you get busted like that. And
it's so wild because if you're sitting there and they aren't coming in looking for something, you can get away with so much.
Oh yeah.
But if they're coming in interested, then you can't.
And they know
exactly.
They know right where that call came from.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know how, but
it is wild. So I guess to follow, what was the hunt after that?
So that was the second day.
Yeah, that was the second day. Oh, this was Casey's first encounter. So I took Casey out. It was the day after or two days later, and we didn't hear anything first thing in the morning, but there was one that was finally gobbling off of a knob, and that was the first time that we actually determined a strut zone for a bird. So I was like, okay, we can't do anything with this bird right now. It's 11:40, and at that point in Ohio, cutoff is noon. I was like, we know he's there. Let's back out. We'll come back make a note for this bird. Something happened where we didn't make it out the next day. I think she had to work, and then a couple of days later, we got out there, and I just got off work. She picked me up from work, drove down there. It was probably about 10-15 minutes from where I work at. And we walked straight up the hill, straight to that knob. And we were about, 50 or 60 yards from the very peak of that knob. And just kind of cleared out some space underneath the tree and started scratching. And then just gave a couple of quick, little soft yelps. Nothing. Got a little bit louder and cut just a few times. And 60 yards. And I was like, oh, we are in it. This bird's going to come down. It has cover to come down and check this out. We are in its bubble. This is going to work out for you.
Yeah. What time was this?
Had to be 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Mid-morning.
Yeah. So we switched spots just real quick. I'm filming over top of her. And if this is a tree, this is her. I'm right here in between them.
Okay.
And this bird comes down. I'm probably 6, maybe 8 inches above her, just trying to hold the camera. And it sounded like the bird was working left. I think it was just the sound bouncing off the hill just a bit. So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, Casey's working left. He's working left. So I kind of adjust a little bit. And all of a sudden, I catch a little bit of motion between her head and the tree. I'm like, nope, he's working right. He's working right. It's coming down straight down the pipeline at us. And I was like, Casey, he's to the right of your barrel. Just swing over just a little bit. And she does, and she is ready. And he stops at, I kid you not, 10 yards.
Oh, he was that close.
10 yards. I am holding the camera, and I'm like, oh, please shoot, please shoot, please shoot, please shoot. And then she didn't. And he only gave us, that 5-6 second window of him to check it out and say, nope, I don't like it, I'm out. So he walked off, and we sat there for a couple minutes, and I was like, honey, sorry, but why didn't you shoot? And she's like, I had an eyeball, and everything else was covered by brush. And I was like, if you're not comfortable, don't shoot. Yeah. I had a perfect view from pretty much mid-neck up, and I was like, I could have killed him 6 ways to Sunday, But I understand why you did. And
Yep.
if you're the shooter, don't ever shoot if you're not comfortable. So that's 100%, even at 10 yards, 100% understand that. So she was, it was probably 10, 15 at that point. She wasn't feeling too great. That was the end of the hunt for us pretty much.
Yeah. Go to breakfast and drink about it.
Yep. Yeah. Pretty much. Pretty much. So, that led us into would have been my hunt for the successful hunt down in Southern Ohio. And to be honest, I wasn't even going to hunt that day. I was going to work on.
Good thing you did.
Good thing I did.